Hey there, thank you for joining me on this Friday. I want to have some fun. We have not had a lot of just fun Fridays, and I really want to this week. I want us to be able to relax and have fun, and so that's what this is going to be. It's just going to be fun, and something I've been doing lately for fun, to relax, has been listening to podcasts. And I'm gonna tell you a few podcasts I've been listening to, but I just want you to know kind of what is out there, because I know when I first heard about podcasts, I'm like, man, I don't just want to listen to someone talk all the time. It doesn't sound fun. It doesn't sound interesting. It didn't sound like something I really wanted. But there's a whole lot out there for podcasts. There are comedy podcasts that you can listen to, and you can probably find whatever kind of comedy you enjoy listening to in a podcast. There are true crime podcasts. There are a lot of true crime podcasts. And so if you like true crime, then that would be something to look into. There are a lot of sports podcasts. I love sports. I'm going to give you two that I listen to. But as a Christian, there are a lot of podcasts to help you grow in the Christian faith. And I think at different times it's helpful for us to listen to a few different things. There are times where you need to listen to things that you connect with and that really help you grow. And I will give you a few that I recommend in that direction. But I do also think there are times where we need to really stretch ourselves. Listening to some things that will kind of push us and our way of thinking, because no one person, none of us, has all of the truth. Now, with the times that we're in, with all the stress that we're dealing with, getting to podcasts that you know and trust, and people who won't just say the things that you want to hear, but in some ways that kind of see the world the way that you do, might be very helpful, especially devotionally. Being able to connect more with God, the specific ways you connect with God in times of stress, is probably very helpful. So I do want to go through a few podcasts that I listen to. I will try to write them all out in the description below. You can find them on Apple Podcasts. Spotify will have them. Google probably has them. Not sure all the podcasting platforms, but you can probably find most of these on most platforms. Now, sports podcasts. I'm listening to two right now. There are two major ones I listen to. First one is for football. It's the Around the NFL podcast. These guys are hysterical. They bring their personalities into the podcast. They have a great time. And they don't talk about fantasy football. They talk about actual football. That's one of the big things that led me to this podcast as opposed to others. Most of them are largely focused on fantasy football. This one isn't. This is just normal football. Just talking about the games, what's going on, how teams and players are doing. And it's a lot of fun. They have a lot of fun. I also love soccer, and the main soccer podcast I listen to is ESPN FC. They have a whole bunch of different ones that have kind of branched off, so you'll have to probably pick or choose which ones you listen to, but they do a good job of going through different matches, what's going on, going through the news. They primarily will focus on Major League Soccer, which is here in the U.S., and on soccer in England, the Premier League, but they will address soccer around the world as well. So that's a really good one. They do a good job. They're fun to listen to as well. Now, as far as more Christian, more devotional podcasts, one of the big devotional podcasts I listen to is called Jesus Calling. Jesus Calling is a devotional written by Sarah Young, using Scripture and putting it in Jesus' words, so it sounds like Jesus is actually speaking the words to you. And the Jesus Calling podcast will have different people discuss their faith journeys and then read an excerpt from Jesus Calling. And it's been a really nice devotional podcast to listen to. Another one that I listen to more devotionally is Renovare. That's Renovare with an accent over the last E. The Renovare Podcast. And they'll take a look at several different, they call them streams within Christianity. So you have the evangelical stream, social justice, charismatic, contemplative, and there's another one or two in there. And they look at these different streams within the Christian faith, and they look at how can we grow closer to God through these. How do they help us grow closer to God? How do they show us some of who God is in these different streams? And it's a very calm podcast. A lot of podcasts are kind of, yeah, hey, we're going, here's this thing, and oh, here's a super exciting thing, here's this really fun thing, and oh my goodness, here's something else, here's something else, here's something else. Renovare, the way that the host, Nathan Foster, is, the way that a number of the people who come on are, they are very calm, they're very quiet and peaceful. And so if you need more of that calm, peaceful look at the Christian life, the Renovare Podcast is a great podcast to turn to. There's a couple others that are probably a little bit more niche. They're much less known. Those are pretty big podcasts. But Wesley Seminary at Indiana Wesleyan University has their own podcast. It is more for church leaders, but a lot of things that they talk about, most Christians can take and use. So if you're at all interested in anything like that, I would encourage you, the Wesley Seminary podcast. It's a wonderful resource for that. Also, the church that I grew up in, Crossroads Community Church in Kokomo, Indiana, they don't have a podcast of their own, but one of their pastors has a podcast. He was my youth pastor. He's now one of the main pastors. His name is Brent Faulkner, and his podcast is entitled Walk On with Brent Faulkner. And Brent, if you're listening, if you see this video and you're listening to this, please publish something more frequently. Every time that you produce something, it is awesome, and I love hearing it. You do a great job of getting some big ideas in the Christian faith and breaking it down and helping us just take a step, which is exactly what your podcast is about, taking your next step. I love it. If you can publish a little more often, I would love it. But if you're interested in a devotional podcast, when it comes out, when he publishes new episodes, they're always wonderful. And when I was at Indiana Wesleyan, I was a part of the John Wesley Honors College, and a couple John Wesley Honors College students and a friend of theirs started a podcast called the Tealos Podcast. It's Tealos, Tealos podcast, looking at there's different stuff they're thinking as they go about their journeys, and their education, how some of the things that they're learning at a conservative Christian school is kind of helping push them in their thinking. They're just wrestling with questions that I think a lot of people wrestle with. And so the Tealos Podcast is another great podcast to listen to. Again, I will try to get these in the description. There is one music podcast that I listen to. There are tons of music podcasts that are out there that are mostly music. So podcasting isn't just people talking. There's all sorts of stuff that you can get into. But the music podcast that I listen to is called 20 The Countdown Magazine. And it is top 20 countdown of Christian music that's on the radio right now. And I would really encourage you to listen to it. It's especially if you like contemporary Christian music. I've really enjoyed hearing what's out there right now. I don't always agree with the songs where they have them and all, but that's part of a top 20 countdown. Is you'll have your opinion of what song is deserving of being high on the chart and what's not. But it has helped me continue to listen to the new contemporary music that's being produced. Now, most of these publish once a week, maybe once every other week. So a lot of these are not producing constantly. I'm not listening to, 20 podcasts every day. Most of the time it's maybe 2 or 3 most days. But they can help give us something devotional to listen to, give us some information, give us some entertainment. Instead of watching stuff on a screen, you're just hearing the words being told to you. If you're going to go out and relax, go for a walk, podcasts are something to listen to other than music. If you are needing something to hear, that's the way that I'm getting a lot of. It's the way that I'm getting some news. It's the way that I'm getting sports news. It's the way that I am getting Christian teaching, and a way that I just have some fun. It's actually very relaxing to be able to listen to. So whether you're going to listen to any of the podcasts I've recommended, again, try to get the list in the description below. Or whether you want to just look up something completely different, true crime. I'm not really into looking up other sports. There's pretty much any sport has a podcast. Whatever it is, I'm sure you can find it. But yeah, I've come to really enjoy and have fun listening to podcasts. Thank you for listening to me ramble on with this video. I pray that you have a fun Friday. If you can, get out and enjoy it. It's a very beautiful day outside where I'm at, so get out and enjoy some sunshine, have some fun, listen to a podcast maybe. God bless you guys. Take care.